Haley Cummins joining us. First year Loogootee Lion head coach and first time sectional champion. Congratulations, Coach
Thank you
Haley.
very much. Thank
Want
you.
to watch that? It's going to fall
Whoa.
for you, but that's all right. So, wow. I mean, you think back to when you took the job a few months ago. Really, not that many months ago, but it's been a few.
Yeah.
Obviously, you hope, you dream of a sectional championship. But then reality sets in, right? The season starts,
hmm
and things don't go exactly the way you want. I imagine at that time, the last thing you were thinking of was a sectional championship, right?
Yeah, I think that we had a long way to go
Yeah.
from the beginning of the season.
So let's talk about the season a little bit. We'll get into the sectional because it was an exciting one. But the season, I guess, in a microcosm, it seems like it's been an ascension for sure, trending upwards. But many times it's been taking maybe two steps forward and one step back
Right.
because you had so many adjustments to make.
hmm
Um, I know you practice a lot, but there had to have been a lot of kind of closed door meetings or side discussions with your coaches as to how to improve things from game to game.
Yeah, definitely. So from the beginning, I really wanted to focus a lot on defense because
Mm-hmm.
we had a very strong offensive. We had a couple strong offensive weapons, but we really needed to back it up with our defense. So that's what we really focused on towards the beginning of the season. And then we started adding in those layers and started to figure out what kind of lineup we wanted. And even towards the middle of the season, I kept saying, "This isn't something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
We can make some changes. There's something that I came in just assuming would be right, and
Mm-hmm.
then it had to change. So yeah, well, I think once we made that change right before Springs Valley, that's where kind of the turning point was for our season.
Yeah, I remember Coach Wagner in one of our post-game shows. We were about 7 games in, and he said, "Hey, about 10 games in, you should know your team." I knew that wasn't going to be the case. I mean, it took maybe 15 games at least,
Yeah,
maybe before, and then the improvement started. But um, if there was a turning point in the season, where would it have come?
definitely Springs Valley. So we had just come off the loss from Bar Eve, and we needed a change. So yeah, I would say Springs Valley when we played
Would the
them.
low point have been taking nothing away from Washington because I think they're a pretty good team, but I went down there thinking that we would beat them and move forward to Bar Eve, but we didn't really show up that night. Was that more the low point, or was after the Bar Eve loss the low point?
I think both because you know we didn't really put up anything against Washington.
Mm-hmm.
They're a great team, but yeah, usually as you've said before, usually you go there and you come back with a win, and we didn't. And then the very next day we had Bar Eve. So yeah, or not the very next day. It wasn't,
It was
was
that
it?
week,
It was that week.
right?
Yeah, it was
I
the
think
very
so.
next game,
Yeah.
and we had Bar Eve, and we had just a couple days to prepare for them. So yeah, that was really hard to come off of,
Mm-hmm.
and the girls were upset. And like I've said before, after a Friday game, you normally don't practice on Saturday. That's a day that you
Mm-hmm.
usually have off. And we came in on Saturday, did some skill stuff, and really started looking at some other options. Nobody had done anything wrong. It was just they weren't in the right spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just made the changes from there.
For those of you who don't know, Haley Taylor was a star at Bar Eve High School, 2012.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
that's when I
and,
graduated.
and yeah, that's when she graduated, but for 4 years basically. I mean, what was it different for you going down there? I know it's a different gymnasium, but coaching for Loogootee against Bar Eve, I mean, it'd be natural if it were, but did you think anything about that?
It's it's a similar culture, Lagodi to Bar Eve.
Hmm.
We have that winning culture. We have nothing hits the floor. Always give that hustle. There's nothing much different about that. Um, I think the colors.
The colors, okay,
That's pretty much it.
okay,
Everything else is, all the standards are set pretty high
okay.
for both.
So you didn't go in thinking, "Wow, this is weird." I mean,
It was a little
yeah,
strange seeing all the people that I went to school
hmm,
with on the opposite side and
yeah.
in
But
black and
they
red,
didn't boo
but
you, did they?
no, they
No, no,
didn't.
didn't.
No,
Okay,
they were very
okay.
nice.
But and I know you know this, but how fortunate you are because a very young coach in terms of experience, that you've got, of course, Amber DeCourcy
Yeah.
to fall back on a little bit. You've got Shelley Loneker to fall back on a little bit. And then your current coaches. I mean, Phil Goodpaster and also Leslie Summers, of course. And I want to talk about Gabe Nolly as well, because Gabe has been on board for a while, and Gabe is quite the volleyball player. But Gabe knows a lot about volleyball. What does Gabe bring to you as an assistant coach?
He brings so much energy and so much passion. I
can
think
see that.
That's like, it's so adamant whenever you're at our games, but he doesn't just bring it to the games, he brings it to the practices. And I saw that he had put on Facebook, a couple little jokes about him and Madison. They have a very interesting relationship because, whenever we're scrimmaging against each other, Gabe is a big block and Madison hates that. And it's hilarious to see them. They're almost rivals against each other in practice. So every time that somebody blocks Gabe, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal.
Okay. And then kind of from the personality standpoint, the complete opposite, Phil Goodpaster, right? I mean, I'm sure he's got energy, right? But he conserves it, I think.
Did you see him stand up during the Orleans game? He has energy.
I don't know that I saw that. But it's an entirely, I mean, Phil Goodpaster, I think people overlook him a little bit just because of his quiet nature, but the knowledge, that the tradition that he has, right, with Loogootee, but the knowledge of volleyball that he can bring to you is just unreal. And tell me what he brings to the team.
So typically during timeouts, I focus on the energy or the mentality, getting their head back in the game, if it's not going right for us, or keeping their head in the game if it is going right, and giving them a couple little things to fix here and there. But I always look to Phil before we break up and ask him if he has anything. And 9 times out of 10, he does, because he sees everything. And he'll say, cheat this way, cheat that way. They're doing this. And it's things that I'm seeing, but I don't think to relate to the girls, because I just assume that they've seen it. And it's such a huge help because he's got so much experience. So
yeah, I asked after the game, after the championship, was on the floor talking to you and others, and I just casually mentioned to Phil that we'll play the Medora winner, might be Trinity Lutheran, and I said, boy, they're good. And he started to give me, they're left hitter on this side, they'll do that. He knows the ins and outs, but is there a lot of scouting, I guess, involved? Just like basketball, can you get videotapes? I know we've seen them, obviously, we've seen them firsthand, but do you send people to games? Do you have videos? How do you scout a Trinity Lutheran now as compared to what they were maybe when we played them?
Yes, we gather film on teams like that, and I put a report together for the girls, and that's kind of what we study all week. So that's how it's done.
Yeah, and I'm not going to forget Leslie Summers. We're going to talk about her as well, but as a coach. But just back on Trinity Lutheran a little bit. We all know when they played us and when they beat us in straight sets, we're not that same team.
No.
But boy, they look good. They let fall. They didn't let anything fall. If I look at Springs Valley, they might have 1 or 2 consistent hitters. It seemed like they had 3, 4 at any given time that they could come at you, and their defense was so good. So, but they've lost 15 games. Now, the most brutal schedule in the state.
Yeah.
I think probably the most brutal schedule in the state.
Yeah.
But they're a really good team. But have you seen anything? You don't have to tell us here, but anything that you might be able to see that you can exploit going into next week, or is that still a work in progress?
It's definitely a work in progress. Their defense is always so good and so tight, and their offense, they just don't make errors. So, that's what we're going to be focused on in the next week.
Leslie Summers, assistant coach. I don't know how long she's been around. Do you know?
I heard her say 23 years yesterday. I don't know if
I thought, man, she's got to be older than I think, because all of these players from the early 2000s and mid 2000s were reaching up and reaching back and talking about Leslie and the influence that she had on them, and that's a long time to be in the program. And again, you talk about knowledge, and specifically we talked about on the air of you had your team in the huddle after that first rough set, except for Madison Ramsey, and she grabbed her aside and talked to her for the entire timeout. That's what assistant coaches do, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Good ones.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Leslie and what she brings to you.
Oh gosh. Um, Leslie does a lot of behind the scenes stuff that nobody would ever know.
Mm-hmm.
She if it wasn't for her, there wouldn't be any senior gifts. There wouldn't be any.
Well, I
There
believe that.
probably
Yeah.
would be, probably not as good.
Yeah.
She organizes
She's
everything.
kind of the mother of it, right?
Yeah, she is, the stat lady.
Mm-hmm.
She does all of that. But on top of that, I always go to her with, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I call a timeout? Should I, whenever I'm not quite sure. Um, and she's not the type to just say, oh, I don't know. She always gives me a definitive answer. And then that's when I know that that's what I should do. So, Leslie kind of brings it all together, I think.
Well, she was around, obviously, had been around for a long time, even when you played. But
Mm-hmm.
even back then, did you know her? Did you have a relationship, maybe because of club volleyball or anything
I
else?
didn't know.
Didn't know her until really
No.
in the last several months.
No, I met her at Evansville Metro because her daughter was playing there.
Mm-hmm. And you brought on Jocelyn Strange, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you talk about back row expertise. Jocelyn, and how'd that come about?
So Phil and Leslie kept talking about Jocelyn, and I'm like, well, more the merrier. Bring her in, and she just has helped out our JV a lot.
Yeah.
Whenever we need a defensive player or whenever we're working on defense for varsity, she was there to help out. She is really, really good, and she has such high standards for the girls. She has helped out Macy Knepp so much about how to talk, when to talk.
Oh, Macy can talk.
Oh yeah, that's because of Jocelyn. So yeah, she's thanks to that.
Yeah. I remember, and let's talk about Maya Hedrick too, because Maya's a first year coach on the high school level, and a young one at that as well, but stepped into the junior varsity role and did a great job.
Yeah, she has. Her JV did pretty good this year. They were 5-2 in conference. And yeah, really proud of her for what she did with the girls, and looking forward to bringing some of those girls up for varsity next year. But they loved her. They really thrived off of her energy. Me and Jocelyn tried to get Maya to be a little bit tougher, tougher on the girls. Yeah. She's really nice. But she's getting there, I think. And Saturday night, I think I saw a different side of Maya because she was screaming so loud on that bus. She was starting the chants. She was hilarious. So yeah,
she's just having
love
fun,
Maya.
right?
Yeah.
How would you say your team would describe the difference between your coaching style from the first practice to the sectional championship game?
Oh goodness. I think I came in, normally whenever you come in as a coach, you come in to set the standard, and you're very disciplined and strict, and you want them to know what you expect of them. That was 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and now I would say that the girls know what I expect. I don't have to tell them to do things. It's very fluid, and I just have a good relationship with the girls, not just the teacher and the teach. It's it's an actual bond and a relationship. So that's something I really think is beneficial.
That's been what, now 11 years since you played. None of them probably remember you as a player, do they?
No, absolutely not.
Not even the seniors? Not even
No,
the seniors? Yeah.
I wouldn't think so. No.
I mean, I'd say might. Yeah, she might. But one thing you talked about in the beginning of the year, you felt like you had some front row power, I guess. You needed to work on the back row. But we all know to utilize that front row power, that back row has got to get them the ball.
Yeah.
And that was a problem early in the year. And then the other day, it was sectional championship game. I made the comment that you had a freshman, sophomore, junior in the back row. You had Jocelyn, freshman, Macy, sophomore, and Brianna, junior. And right away I'm thinking, boy, next year, now you got veterans, because you didn't have veterans coming in from that back row.
No.
Like you said, you brought Jocelyn in, but you know better than anybody, because you were a hitter, that in order for you to be successful, that back row has to be successful with their passes, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So really maturing those defensive players. I mean, Brianna is pretty matured for, coming in being a junior.
Mm-hmm.
But, maturing Macy and Jocelyn has definitely been our most powerful impact, I think, with the team because Jocelyn stepped on that floor at that championship game as if she was an upperclassman. She had no fear. You couldn't see it in her face. So did Elena Diamond, and she didn't even know she was playing that game.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just have to spring it on those freshmen like that and just kind of let them run with it. And I think that they did a great job.
Yeah. I learned something, and I think the casual fan will watch the game and they'll wonder why somebody didn't play or didn't play as much. And we were both surprised that Elena Diamond didn't play some in that first game. But just in casual conversation, what you told me, I had to think of a little bit later that made the difference. And you said that's because Addie Lonecker was making good decisions. Now, Addie's not going to pound the ball, but she's going to outsmart the opponent at times, right? So that's kind of what you mean, right? You've got a senior there, or you got a junior in Addie who's experienced, maybe that might be more of a finesse player at this point when needed above Elena at that point. Is that fair to say?
Definitely. Addie has been such an asset, especially this second half of the season. She is our cheerleader, definitely. That's why I have her up doing the captain's meeting with Sydney now. And yeah, she is extremely smart. She plays club at Metro, and she's really into it. So that's why I think it's important for her to have that front row time, just in case we do need to switch her and Elena out. But, they both bring totally different things to the floor. And if there's a time where we need a big blocker, that's where we put Elena in. So it's, our bench is phenomenal compared to some teams aren't fortunate enough to have all the talent that we have on the bench. So that's where I think we kind of have the upper hand.
Yeah, it's interesting. The depth you have now is complete different depth than at the beginning of the season because to me, I think a big move was having Brianna play all the way around. Number one, I saw the confidence in her just skyrocket when she started to hit some. So you added depth to the front row, and Alana goes to the back row. So you add depth to the back row as well. And now all of a sudden you have everybody, it seems, in positions to where they can succeed. And that's what you want as a coach, right? That's the end goal, right?
Yeah, exactly. And seeing the confidence in Alana as well. Moving her from front row to back row is just it's great to see. Her attitude and her mentality has completely changed and for the better. So I think that was a good move.
Yeah, and then there's junior Keisha Wilcoxon. Coach and I had an inside joke. Well, it's inside joke because nobody else knew the name Dave Kingman, who played Major League Baseball back in the 70s. And he was a player, he would either hit a home run or strike out. There was no in between. And it seemed like Keisha at the service line was like that. I mean, a line drive, there it is right there, ace. Next one was out. And incrementally, she got better and better and better. And now she's one of your more consistent and dangerous weapons back there.
Yeah, I think she only missed one serve against Springs Valley. And yeah, we joke sometimes because whenever she did start serving, she'd go back there and serve and it hit the back wall and she'd come off the court onto the bench and say, "Coach is still going," as if that ball never touched the ground. Yeah. So, she is really funny, but, she's definitely gotten more consistent. And, last year the coaches had informed me that she worked really, really hard to be able to serve. And she was, probably not expecting to not serve this year. And, it probably set her back a little bit, not being able to serve at the beginning of the season. But I think she's definitely earned it.
Yeah, and then you've got your 5 seniors, all at different skill level, all at different positions, but having 5 seniors. If you don't have 5 seniors, you probably don't win that game Saturday night, right?
No,
definitely tell me, whether you want to do individually, I don't care, as a group, but how 5 seniors like that help you win a sectional championship.
I'll start alphabetically because that's what I've been doing lately. We've got a lot of A's, so I'll start with Abby. Abby, although she didn't step on the floor for the first sectional, she had a couple injuries that set her back, and she's still limping a little bit. But I knew that if we ever got into serve receive trouble, and luckily we didn't, that I could throw her in and everything would be fine. She is constantly talking on the bench. She would pull people aside and say, "You have this hole, you have this hole," because she is a senior. She is so experienced. So I'm really grateful that she really took on that role. Ashlyn, she is one of our most consistent hitters, and
She is now.
Now, yes.
You can say that almost about everybody, right?
Yeah,
I mean
definitely.
now it's just so much better. But I agree, Ashlyn is a weapon.
Yeah, definitely. And she's, whenever she really gets a hold of it, she can put
Yeah,
it down.
absolutely.
So, yeah, Ashlyn, can't say enough about her. She's just does everything that she's told. She doesn't even question. She started serving for us, and I think in conference she served like 97%, which is great. So yeah, that's Ashlyn. And then Alana, I've just mentioned her. She really took a change whenever we moved her from front row to back row. I remember at the beginning of the season after camp, um, we had talked about moving her to back row, and she was really upset about it. And she really wanted to be up there on that front row. So we continued having her up there, and she does a great job. She can swing and she can jump as well with how little she is, and yeah, we made the change, and she took it on board this time, and I think that was the big difference. And she's one that we can rely on now. Um, let's see, Madison. Obviously, she's one of our top kills, top blocks. She's just makes such a difference in the game whenever she's in there. We talked about her the first set of Springs Valley. Definitely wasn't her best set, but I think after Leslie had talked to her, it really, really improved. And the fact that our team came together and knew that, somebody that usually would put the kill away, she wasn't performing at her top level. Everybody came together and just built her up and really covered for her, I think. And then that's whenever she's like, all right, I got this. And then she came back, obviously, with a vengeance. Sydney is the girl that leads by example. She, if something's not getting done, then she's going to do it herself. She, up until sectional, she hasn't really been our most vocal leader, but at sectional, you could see her screaming in the huddles and really bringing everybody together. Yeah, she made a huge difference in sectional, and I think that she wanted it. She wanted that sectional, and she wanted everybody to know it. So whenever things weren't getting done, she brought everybody together as a leader should. So yeah, our seniors are awesome, and I'm going to be sad whenever they're not here anymore.
At the pep session, you talked about two juniors that didn't see the court, and there was obviously emotion.
Yeah.
With you and the two juniors, and that was Ava Furman and Ashley Green. Why so important to point them out?
Oh, I don't want to cry again.
Okay.
Ava and Ashley, they work their butt off. They come in and work hard, and have never asked any questions about, can I play? Can I do this? Can I do that? It's definitely they come in and they do what they're told, which is what you want. But as a junior, it has to be hard to be at their level, which is they have so much talent, and not be in the lineup for varsity. It has to be difficult. So I do feel for them in that regard. But if they weren't there this year, we wouldn't have had a JV. Our JV wouldn't have had the record that they had. They were all-around players. Ava was an all-around player, and Ashley definitely could have been. But yeah, so that's kind of where the emotion came from, because they are definitely capable of being on that floor. But it's just not the way that our lineup works. So yeah.
But I think of their talent level and how important next year is seniors, not only senior leaders off the floor, but on the floor. They're going to add so much depth to your front row.
Yeah.
And I got to feel like there'll be good things from those two next
Oh,
year.
most definitely.
Well, let's just round out the roster. Let's talk about sophomore Cora Consley. I know she didn't get any action in the sectional, but during the course of the year, you got her in there quite a bit, varsity playing time, whether it was serving or back row. She's going to be key next year too.
Oh, definitely. Her serve is something that I still can't figure out how it does what it does. Um, so that's where she really shined for us in the season, and obviously her back row backs it up as well. I coached her last year at the club level, and I knew that she was a great DS and she was somebody I could rely on. And then towards the end of the season, she had meniscus issue, and she had surgery over the summer. So while we had to give time for that to heal, she was building up her strength back towards the middle of the season, and now she's back full force, and hopefully we'll be able to get her some time on Saturday, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And then about mid-season, Macy Nip changed shirts, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the different colored shirt where she became the back row specialist, libero, a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some work to be done with her, and still is. She's just a sophomore, but boy, she didn't play like a sophomore Saturday, did she?
No, she didn't. She takes charge, and that's so funny because the first two weeks of season, I would hear her talk some. I knew she was an outgoing girl, but I was wondering why she wasn't talking more. And I don't know what the change was, but I could hear her all the time. Doesn't matter if she was on the court or on the bench. I could always hear her talking to her hitters on where to go. And I'm thankful for that switch because she's definitely one of our most talkative girls on the floor now.
Among the many, I'll say it because I'm a fan too, and I saw, but among the many flaws that I saw early in the year, one was serving. I mean, we had a, I don't know what the stats were, but it seemed like a poor serving percentage for the most part, and at key times. And another was communication. It seemed like we'd be running into each other, or somebody would be stepping in front of everybody. And I'm thinking the Springs Valley match, if I'm listening to Coach Wagner, was probably the best served error-free game of the season. You're talking about the sectional championship. Very few during the match of a 4-set match. And communication, I didn't see anybody cross each other. You probably did as a coach. I don't know. I didn't see anybody running into each other outside of, scrambling for a ball.
Yeah.
But two key metrics, I guess, from the beginning of the year to now is a big reason why you're headed to the regional, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's last week we had several people come into scrimmage with us, and very grateful for them. So thank you if you're watching this. So we would play this. We would do this drill where we would have 18 points and they would have 21 points, and we would have to fight our way back to 25.
Okay.
There were times where we accomplished it, but that's a difficult drill to do. You're already down, and you don't have the momentum going anywhere. So it was during those times where if we missed a serve and we're already down by 3, I think that really stuck with them, that drill that we had done. So I think that made a huge difference whenever it came to Saturday.
Serving again to the casual fan, and I call myself a casual fan only really from the knowledge of volleyball that I have. I will never know the rules. I'll never know all the rules. I can't understand sometimes why it's 4 hits. I can't understand why it's not a lip. Well, coaches can't either sometimes. But the thing is that serving, sometimes we'll say, oh, how can we have a service error? But in my mind, I realize that sometimes the player sees a hole when they're serving. Sometimes they see that it's going to be a soft serve that will get the job done. And when it's a hard serve, sometimes it's anybody's guess, right? It may be a little bit long, it may go in the net, but serving is not as easy as it looks.
No, I think that I can't remember what coaches I was talking to about this just recently, but it's different now to whenever even I played. A serve is being used as an offensive weapon now, and if you don't have a tough serve, then we've got to get somebody else back there to serve for you, because that's the start of a play. And if we get them on their back foot, that makes it even easier for us. So yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah, if it's an easy receive, it sets it up right away to take
Yeah,
away our serve, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we complete the varsity roster? Do you think we talked about everybody? If we didn't, somebody's going to hear about it. But I mean, probably. But I don't have it in front of me. But anybody we missed on that varsity
No,
roster
I
that you
think
can
we
think of?
talked about the freshmen,
Yeah.
didn't we,
Hmm.
earlier in the
And Jocelyn, we mentioned maybe briefly, but you did say that Jocelyn sure didn't look like a freshman back there either.
No, she
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Definitely not. And yeah, Elena, so glad that she stepped up and
Hmm.
really took on her role on Saturday.
Yeah.
Really proud of that.
So how do you balance it? You want it to be a fun week for the girls. I mean, this is a week that they earned,
Hmm.
but yet there's still business to do, and they
Yeah.
know that. But how do you balance between the fun and let's get down to business? We got a job to do.
Oh gosh, it's a hard balance. We do dress up themes for
Hmm.
practice. I think you've probably seen it on
Hmm.
Facebook, and we go to dinners, and luckily our community is so great that people are knocking down the door to be able to pay for our meals. But before any of that happens, we've got to get that at least 2 hours in, and really, really focus in on what is happening in 4 days.
Hmm.
So it is difficult, and we do like to have a laugh because it's not, JV is not there. It's just varsity. So yeah, I think that it's it's difficult, but I think that we managed to do it.
Yeah, when you think Trinity Lutheran, they won 10 sectionals in a row. This is routine for them
Hmm.
as opposed to these particular girls on this team. So they're going to be mostly business during the week. But there's something to be said to go in a little bit loose, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I mean, what's the point of doing all this if you're not having a little bit of
Yeah.
fun? So, yeah, we definitely want to cover what we need to, but it's also about having fun with the girls,
Yeah.
and this is the seniors' last ride,
Yeah.
so why not make it a little bit fun?
Yeah. And finally, describe for me your season. In your mind, describe for me this season from the first practice to now. And I don't mean the improvements and everything, but just in your mind, it's had to have been a roller coaster. It's had to have been some sleepless nights. Uh, kind of take me through your thoughts from 8 weeks ago to now.
Oh, so at the beginning, I just had my mindset on getting in, learning about the girls, and winning as many games as possible. Um, once we dropped a couple games that maybe we're right there, or
Hmm.
we could have turned it around at some point. Obviously, there are sleepless nights because you're thinking about, what if I could have done this? I should have put this person in, or I should have done this differently. And that's why I have those coaches. Phil and Leslie. I'm constantly texting them, asking them, what if we would have done this? And they're doing the same with me. So, yeah, then we won a couple matches that we were like, oh, like this is really good. I mean, we we beat Mater Day to bring
Hmm.
home a good pastor invite,
Yeah.
and um, we beat Springs Valley, and there were those games where we were like, okay, this is we can do better than this. And then we had last week, 2 weeks ago, where we had 3 conference games in a week, and we didn't play our best during that week. And we still won all the games, but it's like, if we're going to win sectional,
Hmm.
we've got to do better. And I'm really glad that we turned it around, because if we would have played like that on Saturday, then I'm not sure that the result would have been the same.
Well, wasn't the fan support? But Saturday morning I was worried about you students. Half of you came in pajamas, which I guess you were supposed to, but the other half didn't show up. But Saturday night, man, everybody showed up.
Yeah.
Student section was great. To me, the fan, everybody coming to the games has been really good this year. I
Hmm.
think it's been fun. At times it hasn't been as fun, but it's been very fun watching the growth of the coaching staff and the
Hmm.
players. And anything else you want to talk about whether it's a team or this weekend? Sure form.
I just wanted to say thank you, I guess, to everybody that had come and supplied us food last week. And, there's so many things that happen behind the scenes that nobody thinks about. Like, our sectional t shirts were donated by Rosie's. Um, that we had the golf scramble. I know that was all the way back in August, but there were so many businesses that donated and sponsored a hole, and so much of the community that came together and really helped us out with that. So if it wasn't for all of the support, that last week wouldn't have been as fun. I'll tell you that. And this week we have the same thing. So just wanted to really say thank you to everybody, and the parents are awesome, and there's just been a lot of involvement that nobody even knows about.
All right, Haley Cummins, congratulations and good luck Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Loogootee Regional, Jack Butcher Arena, be there. I know you will. 10 o'clock, Loogootee takes on Trinity Lutheran. We didn't even mention the other two teams because at the moment they don't even exist. It's Trinity Lutheran, right?
Exactly.
Right in front of us. So, show up. It's in our own backyard, Jack Butcher Arena. If you can't, of course, we'll have it on the Razor. But thanks for watching, and again, congratulations and thanks to Coach Haley Cummins. And you Lady Lions got some work to do. Let's do it Saturday. Thanks for watching.